What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's Motorfest video, I do want to go over the best way to get XP in this game. Now, I would say on top of getting XP, the number one thing behind that is going to be money. But let's be honest though, many players right now probably have lots of money up until this point, and they are most likely trying to level up a bit quicker to, get maxed out in the main stage a lot easier, and of course go after like level 100 a bit quicker. Now, the biggest question is though, what is the fastest way to level up in this game? I have been looking into a lot of different ways, but I would say one of them is going to be fairly clear. Now keep in mind you can also have like some of your points on the XP thing here, which is going to give a 20% boost, which by the way is a lot. I have to admit though, I really do think they should honestly double this and the rich to 40 though. Like I do know back in the crew 2 you can obviously have like 1,000 points on the fame, but in this game I really do think they really should actually double this to 40. That way it's, going to give you more XP from the events, but besides having your legend points active, you are also going to want to run one of the most important sets for it. That is, of course, going to be the lovely XP magnet. So for this, you are also going to want to have legend and rich on every single part on the parts itself. That way, you're also going to have, the highest points you can get. I would also say in the future, we're probably going to get like a special set with like a 4% on rich and maybe a 5% on legend. Of course, we really don't know what's going to happen in the future, but at least the Crew 2 normally had special sets like that. But having a maxed out XP magnet, which by the way, guys, having a maxed out set in this, you're wondering what it does give you. Of course, looking at it, a 25% more of an XP gain from the events, having all 7 of the parts active. On top of that, though, I have a 28% on Legend and a 21% on Rich. Now, running this, though, and also having a main stage vehicle, which currently, when recording this, is the Hypercars. So you can pretty much pick any of the Hypercars of your choice. Now, with the main stage being around Hypercars right now, probably using something like one of those is probably going to be one of the fastest way to do the events. And then once something like an Alpha GP car does show up in the future, that's also going to be great. But using something like a Tier 1 or even a Tier 2 vehicle is good, but you're obviously going to take longer to do these set events. Now, I do want to say something though. When I first started playing Motorfest, I honestly was like, you know what? One of the best ways to make money is to probably throw on an XP magnet and then head over to the longest event in the game, which is going to be the Liberty Territory. So when looking at this, you're probably going to go, oh my goodness, 50,000 XP, like, that's going to be the most I can get. And if you throw something like an XP magnet on top of this thing, also having the driver perk and all that active with like the 20%, and of course running a vehicle with a 30% boost, I think you get like 78,000 XP from this event. So that is obviously going to be a lot for that matter. The other thing though is if you are doing this event, it is going to be at least 12 to 13 minutes to complete it. Unless you're using something like an Alpha GP card, like, maybe a Hyper, you can probably get away with maybe 11 and a half to 12 and a half minutes, but that is going to be an insanely long time to get any event done. So one of the fastest ways I thought was I was like, you know what, let's jump into a grand race. Well, those are also going to be 5 to 8 minutes to complete, and on top of that, you're also going to have to do those events, over and over. And I do know not every player is going to be the happiest doing them. And many players on top of that are most likely going to want to get as much XP as possible. So the best way I found to do this though, guys, is going to be the Kiss Me Combi event. I do know players are thinking about this event and also have mentioned it before. It is going to easily be my favorite race in this game for getting XP. Now, as I did mention earlier, though, I did notice many players talking about the Kiss Me Combi event, so I was like, you know what, let's go test it out, let's run a hypercar with like an XP magnet, jump in there also running like the main stage vehicle XP boost, and on this, guys, I was getting 21,000 XP, which, of course, looking at that on like the first glance, you're like, well, blocked. Why would I bother doing one of the events for 21,000 XP when I can jump into like a grand race and get like 50 or 60k? Well, the big thing about this, though, is on this event, guys, Kiss Me Combi is only going to be a minute and 30 or so seconds. Even running a hypercar, by the way, I think it's like a minute and like maybe 40. At least, depending on the AI, which, on level 5, they're probably going to be an annoyance in themselves. Once you get past them on like the third or fourth corner, though, you're basically good to go. And then around like the 80% or so mark, they normally crash around that corner. So even if you might have like a weird run, which by the way I do all the time, I do tend to mess up sometimes and like slide off the road or like forget to turn because I'm still doing this race pretty much hours on end. I was like, oh wait, I have to turn there. Nice, buddy. And then the AI passed me, run into me, run me into a tree. I probably don't have to explain this that much, but 21,000 XP, having your entire XP magnet, also having your driver points active, and on top of that using one of the main stage vehicles, I would say for around a minute and 40 seconds is going to be insane. Now let's say you did want to use something like an Alpha GP car, which is going to be the fastest vehicle for this event. With that, you can probably get around a minute and 30 or even less than that for that matter. And that's also going to get you that 21k if the main stage XP is active. If it's not going to have the 30%, I was getting around 18,200, which around that is probably going to be about 3,000 point difference. Honestly, it's really not going to matter, but if you are grinding out the event a lot though, that 3,000 XP would end up stacking. Like, for example, if you did like 20 runs, that 3,000 is going to be 60k. So it is most likely going to give you extra XP toward a level. What's also going to be insane about Kiss Me Combi is you get 20,000 XP every minute and 30 seconds. If we put that into perspective here, guys, what's insane about this, let's say you run this 3 times, that's going to be around 4 minutes and 30 seconds if you know your average on that. It's most likely going to be slightly higher, but that's going to be around 63,000 XP having everything active on it. What's insane though is if you run the longest event in this game, it's going to give you over 75k having everything active on that one. And that's also going to run you around 12 to 13 minutes, so it's going to be almost double and sometimes even 3 times the length to get it done. And you're also getting a lot more XP from the Kiss Me Combi event over time. Like if you are running this event around 3 to 4 times, you're probably going to get around 63,000 XP for 3 runs in it. That is going to equal around 4.5 to maybe 5 minutes, which the longest event in the game is going to be well over 11 to 12 minutes for 70,000. So you can probably see how much XP you can get. Like, if you are running the Kiss Me Combi event, you can probably get like 130, maybe even 140,000 in the length of the longest event in this game. And something similar could probably be said about the grand races. If you are getting like top 4 or top 5, you're only going to get maybe 50 or so K. And you are most likely going to take a bit longer because some of the events take 7 to 8 minutes. And we do know how sometimes the grand races can be a nightmare. But if you are running Kiss Me Combi though, you can get a lot more XP over the time of doing it. Now when doing the Kiss Me Combi event, I did end up going over some calculations on how much XP you could get like an hour. And I did come up with around maybe 6 to 7 levels an hour if you are perfect. And of course using something like a hypercar slash an Alpha GP on it. If you are running a street tier 1, it's obviously going to be longer, but getting around 1 level every like 7 to 10 minutes is easily doable. And I would say it's probably going to be one of the quickest ways, but the biggest thing I have to admit here, guys, without a doubt in my mind, is the grinding aspect of it. Like, you are going to be doing the exact same event for hours on end, and we all do know how you can get, like, burnt out from doing, like, the same race or, like, you know, running the same car for that long of a period of time. You also might burn out the entire experience on the game for itself. So I would personally have to recommend to not run Kiss Me Combi for, like, 3 hours at a time. Like, that would most likely destroy your brain and also probably mess up, like, the entire experience for you. For me, I found one of the best ways to do this is jump on for like an hour or so, get around maybe 5 to 7 levels, then do like other races or like grand races. And at least in that way you are going to have a nice mix of events, but also not completely burning yourself out on the exact same event over and over, which I would say is definitely going to be a big issue. Now, if you are wondering, I do want to mention this as well. For me, I would say the Kiss Me Combi event is by far going to be one of the best ways to get a lot of XP quick. Also doing this legitimately, which I know is probably surprising, like, I'm not going to be doing the exact same skill over and over, and somehow hitting level 1000 in 3 days after the next main stage comes out. And you're probably over here like, yeah, okay bro, 1000 XP in 3 days, that makes a lot of sense. But one thing that's also great about the Kiss Me Combi is you can get that level 1 to level 2 around 300,000 XP quick. Instead of, you know, doing a bunch of different events, at least you can get it done. Overall, though, guys, I would like to know what you think about the Kiss Me Combi event in the comments below. I would probably say right now this is going to be the best way to get XP. Not only that, you also get a lot of money from it.